to another episode of Cranial Diarrhea. I'm Tiff.
I'm Wally, everybody home free. That's what it be,
I don't have
as you can see.
I haven't prepped for the show.
Uh oh. That's okay. That's when our shows are the best, when there's no prep.
Stone cold sober.
Yeah, no show prep today.
Because it's Sunday.
No show prep.
Who drinks on a Sunday?
um, I mean, it's football and pizza, and there's you got to have something else with it. So, daughter, we were off a week. Daughter didn't want to get the stomach virus I had, so we decided to take a week off.
Yeah, we did. We had a guest co-host lined up, but I had already made plans to paint my bedroom.
You can see where this show ranks on the priority list. But we are doing something very special. We're going to knock out. Oh, sorry. We're going to have a minor earthquake. We just did. I think it was a 3.7 on the Richter scale. As you can see, we're in studio for a change. Wow, and daughter's having to sit in front of a Steelers map behind her. Oh, I can see now. Look at there. All right. So yes, we're actually in studio, and this show is going to be pretty cool. So, daughter, what are we going to discuss today?
So today, excuse me.
I just wanted to join in.
Today we're going to be talking about witches.
Which witches are which witches? Now, this is really cool because I started researching like the history of witches, and from pretty much I don't want to say the beginning of time, but like since I guess people have started communicating, witches have been around.
There's a witch in the Bible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like this, and I never really thought about it. I was always like, this is probably something come around, 1970 or something. But I mean, this has been like with the history of mankind, and the reason I kind of got caught on, I always seem to get caught on a tangent for some reason, but
it's not aliens, is it?
No, this time it's not. It's satanic worshipers. Alien satanic worshipers. Yes, actually, it is aliens. The first witch was an alien.
Aliens and the chupacabra. That's all he gives a shit about.
That's all I care about. But no, and then when I started kind of looking at that, I thought, okay, this kind of relates back into biblical issues. And I thought, okay, so it's kind of that full circle. The circle of life. Aliens are witches. Witches are aliens. Warlocks are spazzes.
and there's a chupacabra in there somewhere.
He's in the pot, the boiling pot. But I really found it fascinating because I had not thought about it in that concept. When I think of witches, I think of like Bewitch. Things like that. Or, like Bell Witch, stuff like that. But you really don't think about the history going back. But it's like, this is something that's been going on since the beginning of time. Isn't that cool?
Well, and I think, too, the definition of a witch is very obscure, I would say.
Yes. Like, there
because,
was
like, back in the day, like, way back, like, if you were, like, a holistic healer
that's
or
exactly
something
what
like
I was
that,
fixing to say, yes.
You were labeled as a witch, even if you didn't
Yeah, you were just using natural herbs. That was still considered witchcraft.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I was fixing to say. Wow, just way to steal my thunder.
I'm moving this pillow. Oh, that's so much better. Okay.
Sorry, I have a pillow.
I just felt like I was like having to like hunch down to.
Yeah, to make everything work.
Yeah.
She's like, sorry, I have a pillow in my butt. So what do you have, daughter?
So I initially my goal was to find 10 real witches from history. I made it 6.
That's okay. That's plenty.
So, yeah. So we can get into that.
You know who my favorite witch is? Witch. They
Witchy,
make good sandwiches.
witchy poo.
Witch. They make good
Where's
sandwiches.
that from?
Witchy poo?
Yeah.
Oh, the HR Puffin stuff.
My other dad was scared of witchy.
Remember
poo.
that HR Puffin stuff?
No, that's before my time.
Oh, I think it was before my time. I just remember it said maybe it was my time. I don't know.
It was your. I think it was.
But whoever made that had to be major crackheads because you have this large dinosaur-looking thing. HR Puffin stuff.
Anyway, so let's get into it. 6 real witches from history, not 10. 6.
6.
Because someone.
Not 5.
6.
6.
Yeah, was like, I'll come back to that later, and then didn't.
The top 6 witches.
Not top 6, just 6.
Oh, come on, I'm trying to build this up.
Okay.
Coming in at number 6 on your top 10 witch list is
Catherine Montroison.
Boy, that was kind of a letdown.
So she was born around 1640, probably in Paris. From an early age, she was fascinated with fortune telling, learning palmistry, which is, palm reading. At the age of 9, she had a talent for cold reading. So that's the ability to read someone's cues as she told their fortune and convince them that she knew things.
So in other words, she was a scam artist.
So after she had grown up and married, her family fell on hard times. So she turned back to the childhood hobby and began telling fortunes for money. Her main focus was palm reading, a pagan superstition, according to the Catholic Church. She soon became very successful. She adopted the alias of the neighbor. Catherine was off. My phone's like going crazy.
Welcome to the hood. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Catherine was often visited by women seeking abortions. Sometimes she would perform the service, and other times she would deliver the child and have it secretly adopted. Her discretion was probably a major factor in how she began to get more and more high-profile clients, including nobility. So, in the mid-1660s, she had become famous enough as a fortune teller that she was challenged by a priest over them. She chose to defend herself before the professors at the Sorbonne Theological College. The college was well known for...
Their football team's really good.
The college was well known for challenging heretical views.
Interesting.
She convinced them that her gifts were from God, and they were like, okay, and they let her go.
So they have this like long trial, and it's like, okay, it's all good. Okay, yeah. It's all good.
They were satisfied that she was not a heretic, but they were wrong. She went from telling fortunes to offering to change those fortunes using magical charms.
They're magically delicious.
And special powders.
So you know what she said to the townspeople? They're always after me Lucky Charms.
In 1667, she was asked to help someone who wanted to become the lover of the king.
Oh, Elvis?
No. King
Thank you
Louis
very much.
the 14th, I think.
I thought Elvis was the king.
A ceremony was performed for that client. After prayers to Satan, a drug was prepared and given to the client to use on the king.
Thank you very much.
For whatever reason, it worked, and she was the king's lover.
And then she made peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
This success escalated into full black masses for clients, like really awful shit. I wrote that.
I had
really
one of those
awful
last
shit.
week when I had that stomach virus. Ooh.
By the 1670s, she began selling poison, and in 1679, she was arrested.
She sold CDs of poison?
And she was burned alive. No, I don't.
Burning alive. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of weird. I mean, hey, what was her name again?
Catherine Montroison.
Catherine, you do you, girl.
You do you.
You go. That's all I can say to that one.
So
coming in at number 5.
This next one is Agnes Sampson. So she's a part of the 1590 and through 1592 witchcraft trials in North Berwick, Scotland. She was a healer and a midwife. She was actually already being held for suspicion when she was named as an associate by someone else who was being charged with witchcraft.
Why is your little yellow slip instead of Halloween? It says Halloween.
That is the intro music that we use on the
Oh,
show.
sorry.
Anyway, Agnes was transported to Edinburgh, where she was further interrogated, tried, and convicted of witchcraft. She was strangled and her body burned on Edinburgh's Castle Hill. She was a central figure in what became a major and significant series of trials. King James VI took a personal interest in the events after allegations were made the coven of witches of which she was a part were plotting against his life. She was a widow with children. She had been coached in some of the black arts by her father, midwifery, healing, making predictions, and other skills. She used powders, chanted prayers, used eggs soaked in vinegar, wax figurines, etc.
Vinegar eggs?
So I have her confession.
Oh.
I have her confession.
Well, you took her confession. Okay, I want to hear this.
I have it. So, she confessed that she was involved in the Devil's Convention 2 years prior on Halloween. She said the devil was present and was checking names on a register of attendees who then paid homage to him by performing an obscene kiss. I don't know what that means, and I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. She admitted to being present at several Sabbaths and attended at least 8 meetings. She claimed to have conjured poor weather at sea to thwart the king's attempts to bring his new bride to Scotland.
Okay, I have to go back for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the role like? Bueller, Smith. He's checking his list and checking twice.
She said that she had been informed by the devil that the ministers were plotting against James. The king became directly involved in the questioning. She confessed to excavation of bodies for use in magical practices.
Oh, wow.
The powders she used were made from joints of the corpses, using instructions she received from the devil.
Wow. So that is kind of that tie-in that we were talking about earlier. That old, what's that song? That old Black Magic?
I don't know. The first thing that just popped into my head was Black Betty, and I don't...
Coming in at number 4.
So this one is probably fairly well known in the U.S. It's Tituba from Salem.
Who?
Tituba.
Who?
Tituba.
I just like to hear you say that.
So,
biscuit and gravy.
She was the first accused witch and the first to confess. Her testimony is even thought to have shaped the trajectory of the trial. She's also the first to incorporate flying or animal familiars into her confession. So that's where those things came from her.
Oh, so she was flying.
Yeah. Some reports label her as the Black Witch of Salem, but some reports say she was actually South American. I don't know. It is known that she sailed from Barbados to New England with Reverend Samuel Parris. There's also speculation that the Reverend obtained ownership of Tituba when she was in her teens. Her origins are speculative at best. She married John Indian in 1689, though his origins are also speculative. He is recorded as John Indian, Indian John, or the Indian Man, and was enslaved to Reverend Parris near the time of Tituba and lived with Tituba in the Parris household. The Reverend brought Tituba and John to Boston, where he found his bride. Tituba and John may have also had a daughter by the name of Violet, but we're not sure about that. Resources on her are very limited. Scholars believe that she acted as the household servant, taking her meals with the Paris daughters and sleeping beside them at night. She was presumably close to Betty Paris, who would later accuse her of witchcraft.
Wow. So, I mean, she did basically admit to dark arts.
I don't know. So here's the thing: like, was she forced into that confession?
I don't know. I have to wonder. But my
Because
thing is,
she was already not in the position to really defend herself.
or was she just a crackhead who really thought she flew?
No, I don't think so. I think that she may have been coerced into. She may have been coerced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Possibility.
Yeah.
I think that showed up on film. I was trying to tell daughter to bring her microphone a little closer because I don't know what happened. I was trying to adjust that. So that was kind of like, come closer. We need to make some signals for stuff like that. Like if I do this, that means get closer to your mic. If I do this,
maybe talk about that off the air.
that means still second. If I do this, it means I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
It's good.
Well, I don't know that Vandy fans would understand that.
Anyway, up next.
Sorry, I had to put it. Hang on. We're number 4, right? Hold on. Here we go. Coming in at number 4,
Ann Hibbins. So, an entire generation prior to the Salem witch trials, there was a case of witchcraft in the still young town of Boston. The witch in question, Ann Hibbins, wealthy and well-connected, her brother-in-law was a future governor of Massachusetts. Her husband was a respected magistrate who condemned another witch to die in 1648. But in 1654, he died, leaving Anne a widow. She was not a popular woman, having sued a group of carpenters several years before. Apparently, the local community really loved their carpenters because it gave her quite a reputation.
So she sued the Carpenters?
Mm-hmm.
Did they steal her song?
Just months after the death of her spouse, she was accused of being a witch and legal proceedings began. None of the evidence against her has survived, so, I mean, really, it's only speculation on what really happened. But she was found guilty one way or another. She was sentenced to public execution. She was hanged by the neck until dead. Ironically, the man who replaced her husband was among those who condemned her to this fate. Moral of the story, don't take legal action against carpenters.
I like that when you said they hung her until she was dead. No, we're just going to hang her until she says, nah.
Well, no, that's what they say. You're sentenced to be hung by the neck until death.
But what other outcome of hanging is there?
Because if you, sometimes, I guess they ran into issues where if you were hanged, you didn't die immediately.
Don't bother me. I'm just
so
hanging
then
around.
you have to specify until you're dead, because you hanged me, but I'm just chilling here and I'm still alive.
I'm just hanging out.
Sentence is complete. Let me off. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Coming in at number 3.
So this is Moll Dyer.
Oh, I don't think she's very popular. I hit the booing button. Oh, you didn't hear it because you don't have it.
No.
Never mind.
So this is in southern Maryland in the small town of Leonardtown with a population of just 3,000. The town is said to be haunted by the ghosts of real witches. According to local legend, it all began in the winter of 1697. It was a particularly harsh winter, the town gripped by a vicious snowstorm. But this kind of condition was not, unknown to the community. The residents blamed the storm on witchcraft. The scapegoat was a local woman by the name of Moll Dyer. She was a young healer, new to the community. Her knowledge of medicine was just cause for accusing her of being a witch. With fire and pitchfork, they drove her out of town, chasing her into surrounding woodland. Days later, the storm did died down, and her corpse was discovered. She was found frozen to a large rock outside the town, and there is zero evidence that Muldeyer even existed, but her story has survived through the lore. They say that the stone that she died on still exists, but is cursed, and touching it can cause death.
I have to wonder. That sounds like a character from Star Wars, Darth Vader, Mulder. That's kind of interesting. So she died on a stone.
Yeah, well, and what sucks is that they were just pissed off about the snow, and then they're like, "This new bitch over here, it's got to be her fault. Let's get our pitchforks and fire and run her into the woods."
But here's the thing: if they had fire, why didn't they just keep warm by the fire?
Well, I don't know, but I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue was that the town was just snowed in, and people were pissed off about it.
But there again, if they have fire, if they go out and start spreading fire,
Well,
and
here's
get
my
heat,
thing: if she was really a witch, she wouldn't have died laying on a stone, frozen to death.
well,
Like,
and that's kind of my thing. Like in all of this, wouldn't the witch just kind of like fly away? Maybe they need
I
Red
don't
Bull.
think all witches have the ability.
Maybe
I don't
they
think
need
witches,
Red Bull
period, have the ability to just fly.
because Red Bull gives you wings. Coming in at number is two.
One. This is the last one.
I thought we did. I miss one. Did we do six?
This is number 6.
Coming in at number one.
Malin Matsdottir. She is a Swedish widow of Finnish descent who was accused of witchcraft by her own daughters. Her daughters alleged that she abducted children and took them to a satanic Sabbath. She was executed during the Great Swedish Witch Hunt of 1668 through 1676, often referred to as the Great Noise. She is the only witch in Swedish history to have been burned alive without having been strangled first. So they would strangle them as a humane way to kill them. They would strangle them and then burn them.
Strangling is a humane way.
I'd rather be strangled than burned alive.
I would rather do neither. Have you noticed how violent these people are towards witches?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really violent.
Well, I think that just shows the humanity of it all, right? Because humans they have the capacity for
That's a whole nother
great
show
violence.
we need to do too. Is the capacity of humans, the dark side. But
and I think a lot of people too, like not a lot of people but back then for sure, but almost like reveled in it, right? The ability to act out that sort of thing, especially like in the name of God.
Well, I was fixing to say, I don't mean this, I guess, the way it sounds, but it's kind of like they had the holier than thou attitude kind of deal. I don't know. That was really interesting hearing about those different witches because, the ones you hear about, like Bell Witch and all that stuff, everybody knows those common stories. But there's some common themes in there, as far as do you call it dark arts? I don't even know what you would call it. I don't know. That was that squeak made it there. But it's kind of like that. I don't know. It's just there's something there. What do you think? Are witches real?
I think it depends on your definition of witch.
That's kind of. I mean, if
we're talking flying broomsticks and things like that, no.
I'm more of the apt of like the holistic medicine.
Oh, thank you.
Type deal. Oh, thank you. Delivery. Thank you.
How did you get over the board?
Go, Mabel.
So yeah, I think it really depends on your definition of it.
Yeah, it kind of depends on that. because I think there is an element of holistic medicine. I don't want to say that's witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there is something to holistic medicine.
Well, and I think it's
Okay,
nowadays
so-
it's not so black and white. If you do things like
Yep.
herbal or otherwise whatever,
right.
it's not really an evil thing. But it's still like you can still consider yourself a witch or whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that area as well. So that's interesting.
Mhm.
That's very interesting, and I thought we did really good maintaining the conversation during.
I don't think we're ever gonna get to the point where we can have a show without some sort of interruption.
Well, we're gonna see if this next one works out. Granddaughter brought breakfast up, and Dixie and Mabel decided to come up with her. So it was kind of that transition. And Dixie's still here because she's like, if there's a biscuit nearby, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, legit.
So I think we're gonna take a break now and eat our breakfast. And then, oh, look, hash brown. And then we'll come back and do the second show.
Yeah.
So till next time, folks, keep flushing.
Stay witchy, my friends.